Imagine this. You're a Roman general. Your soldiers adore you, your rivals are terrified of you, and the biggest empire in the Mediterranean is basically up for grabs. You have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to restore order, stabilize a collapsing government, and go down in history as the steady hand Rome desperately needs. But instead of doing any of that, you decide the real priority is hosting an endless series of feasts. Not a celebratory dinner here and there. I mean a lifestyle. An imperial policy platform where the solution to every problem is, essentially, more banquets. Today on Royal Idiots, we're talking about Vitellius. The emperor who rose on the strength of the legions, and then governed like the empire was an all-you-can-eat buffet with occasional civil war interruptions. Welcome to Royal Idiots, the podcast where we explore the most powerful bad decisions in history. I'm your host, Melissa, and today we're looking at the life of Aulus Vitellius, Roman emperor for a blink of an eye in the year 69 CE, also known as the Year of the Four Emperors. If you've never heard of him, that's not your fault. Rome had so much chaos packed into that 1 year that it's like history speedran a political thriller. Emperors come and go, armies pick sides, governors declare themselves saviors, and the average Roman citizen is left wondering who they're supposed to pretend to support this week. So let's set the scene. To understand Vitellius, we need to understand how Rome got to a place where a general in the provinces could be turned into emperor by the sheer force of soldiers shouting his name. We're in the 1st century CE. The Roman Empire is enormous. Britain in the northwest, North Africa in the south, the Greek world to the east, Spain to the west. It's not just big on a map, it's a machine. Taxes, grain shipments, armies stationed at the edges, and a central government that has to keep all of it moving. And at the center of that machine is the emperor. But here's the trick, there's no clear legal mechanism for choosing the next one. Rome has traditions, and it has political theater, and it has the Senate, and it has adoption, and it has family connections. But when push comes to shove, the deciding factor is often the support of the military. Which means if the soldiers decide someone should be emperor, reality starts bending in that direction. Now, right before Vitellius shows up, Rome has been ruled by Nero. Yes, that Nero. By the late 60s, Nero's reign has become a storm of paranoia, executions, and reckless spending. The elite hate him, provincial leaders are restless, and eventually the whole thing collapses. Nero dies in 68, and suddenly the question is, who's in charge now? Enter Galba. He's a senior figure, a respectable choice, and he takes power, but he makes a classic mistake. He alienates the soldiers. He tries to tighten discipline, limit payouts, and generally act like the empire's budget actually matters. And you can almost hear the legions responding. So you're saying, less money and more rules? Interesting. Counteroffer, no. Galba is killed. Then Otho takes over. Otho doesn't last either. Meanwhile, across the Rhine frontier, where Roman forces are stationed to keep an eye on Germanic tribes, the legions are watching all of this like bitter employees watching headquarters implode. They want an emperor who will reward them. Someone who will treat them like kingmakers, because at this point, they are. And that brings us to Vitellius. Vitellius wasn't a nobody. He came from a respectable family, he held important offices, and he had connections in high places. He was also the kind of man who, depending on who's telling the story, was either easygoing and generous, or indulgent and basically built for comfort, not crisis. By the late 60s, he ends up in a crucial position, command in the German provinces. That's not a cushy posting. The Rhine is a serious frontier. The troops there are hardened, proud, and used to being the people who do the actual work of keeping Rome safe. And those troops are also feeling insulted. They believe the central government takes them for granted. They watch emperors rise and fall in Italy while they freeze on the frontier, fighting, drilling, and waiting for the next political earthquake. So when the moment comes, and Rome is wobbling, these legions decide to stop waiting for someone else to pick the emperor. They pick Vitellius. Now, was Vitellius a brilliant strategist with a clear plan to stabilize the empire? Not exactly. But he had something that matters a lot in civil wars. He was available, he was in command, and the soldiers were willing to put their weight behind him. Also, it didn't hurt that he had a reputation for being friendly. especially in the sense that he didn't seem like the type to lecture the army about discipline or deny them rewards. If Galba was the strict manager, Vitellius was the guy who says, "Don't worry about it, drinks on me," and everyone cheers. The German legions march. Their commanders do the practical work, mobilizing, planning, fighting. The empire starts splitting into competing claims. Otho, in Italy, faces Vitellius's forces. This isn't a clean little transfer of power. It's Rome turning its own legions against each other. The battles are brutal. Eventually, Otho loses and dies. Some sources portray it as a suicide to prevent further bloodshed, which is an oddly noble moment in an otherwise messy year. Vitellius is now emperor. Here's the turning point where we ask the question every time. Okay, you've got the throne. What do you do with it? The smart option, especially in a year of chaos, would be to project stability. Pay the soldiers, yes, but also secure the grain supply, keep the bureaucracy functioning, calm the provinces, and show the Senate and the people of Rome that the civil war is over. You want to look like a permanent solution, not a temporary accident. Vitellius chose a different plan. And this brings us to the moment that defines our story. Instead of using his victory to rebuild the state, Vitellius leaned hard into indulgence. The stories that survive, many of them written by hostile historians, so keep that in mind, paint him as a man who treated the empire as fuel for his appetites. The comedy version is, Rome was on fire politically, and Vitellius responded by asking what was for dinner. But let's translate that into governance. What does indulgence look like when you're emperor? It looks like enormous spending at exactly the moment the empire is bleeding money from civil war. It looks like rewarding your supporters in ways that drain the treasury. It can look like confiscations, punitive payments, and political favors traded like party invitations. And crucially, it looks like optics. Rome is a city that runs on symbolism. If people believe you're serious, if they believe the gods favor you, if they believe the army is loyal, then you can survive a lot. But if people think you're weak, or worse, unserious, then every ambitious rival starts sharpening their knives. Vitellius's court becomes associated with lavish feasting, not just as a personal quirk, but as the vibe of the regime. And in a fragile moment, vibes matter. Now, to be fair, some Roman authors loved a morality tale. They liked to explain political collapse by pointing at one man's bad character. It's neat and satisfying. Rome fell into chaos because one guy was greedy makes for a clean story. The reality is always messier. Vitellius had real problems. He inherited instability. He had to manage multiple armies with shifting loyalties. He had to keep Rome supplied. He had to deal with provincial politics, rival claimants, and the fact that everyone had just learned an emperor can be replaced. But here's the thing, in that environment, leadership has to be relentless. You don't get to coast. You don't get to treat the job like a victory lap. And Vitellius's biggest mistake may not have been that he liked luxury. It's that his rule didn't convince the empire he could control the machine. Because while Vitellius is settling into Rome, someone else is rising. In the eastern part of the empire, there's a general named Vespasian. He's experienced, capable, and, this is important, he has strong military backing. And unlike Vitellius, Vespasian has a reputation for practicality, for competence, for getting things done. So now Rome has a problem. Vitellius represents the German legions and a recent victory, but Vespasian represents a different power base and a potential way out of the chaos. The empire starts to split again. Armies start calculating. Governors start guessing who will win. And once that starts, it's like a crack in a dam. Every additional doubt widens it. Vitellius, meanwhile, has to do the hardest part of ruling during instability. Keep the military satisfied without letting it eat the entire state. Because the same soldiers who made you emperor can also decide you're not worth it. And if your public image is man who throws huge feasts, you're not inspiring confidence among the people who are looking for man who will win the next war. So what happens next is grimly predictable. The factions collide. Vespasian's supporters move. Vitellius's position weakens. Rome, again, is headed toward violence. Unsurprisingly, this decision had consequences. Civil war isn't just two armies meeting in a field. It's uncertainty spreading everywhere. Trade slows. Local leaders hedge their bets. People hoard resources. The treasury drains faster because everyone wants payouts and the cost of mobilizing forces is enormous. And in the capital, politics becomes survival. The Senate tries to read the room. Elite families try to avoid being on the losing side. Rumors fly. Violence becomes normalized. Vitellius doesn't just have to fight a rival army. He has to fight the perception that his rule is already over. As Vespasian's forces gain momentum, it becomes difficult for Vitellius to project authority. Even if he wanted to pivot into serious emperor mode, the window is closing. People are already making plans for the next regime. And then there's the issue of loyalty. In the Roman imperial system, loyalty is often conditional. It's not built on ideology, it's built on rewards, fear, and expectation. If you look like a winner, you attract supporters. If you look like you're losing, supporters start quietly disappearing. Eventually, Rome sees the worst outcome. Violence reaches the heart of the empire. Fighting erupts around the city. Control shifts. And Vitellius is overthrown. His death is remembered as brutal and humiliating, again, filtered through sources that very much wanted to present him as an example of what happens when a man unfit for the job stumbles into supreme power. And with that, Vespasian becomes emperor, bringing the year of the 4 emperors to its bloody conclusion. So what's the legacy here? Because Vitellius doesn't reign long enough to build monuments or launch grand reforms or reshape the empire in a direct way. But his life still tells us something important. First, Vitellius is a case study in the difference between gaining power and governing. In unstable systems, it's possible to win the throne with the right backing and the right timing. But governing requires discipline, competence, and the ability to convince a huge, diverse empire that you're the future. Second, his story highlights something about military power. The Roman Empire depended on armies, but those armies could also destabilize the state when they started choosing leaders based on their own interests. When legions become political actors, the empire becomes a contest of competing militaries, not a governed society. Third, Vitellius serves as a warning about legitimacy. Rome didn't just want an emperor, it wanted a story of why that emperor should rule. A sense of destiny, competence, divine favor, tradition, something. Without that, you're just the guy currently holding the title, and that can change fast. And finally, there's the reputation. Vitellius becomes, in popular memory, the indulgent emperor. The man who ate and spent and partied while the state cracked. Whether every detail is fair or exaggerated, the broader truth is that his reign didn't inspire confidence, and confidence is currency in a crisis. All right, it's time for the royal idiot verdict. So how should we judge Vitellius? Let's use our scale: strategic genius, competent but flawed, questionable judgment, royal disaster, legendary idiot. Vitellius gets royal disaster. Here's why. He didn't create the instability of 69 CE, but he also didn't rise to the moment. He took power through military support and then failed to convert that support into stable governance. His public persona, lavish, indulgent, unserious, made it easier for rivals to present themselves as the responsible alternative. And in a year when Rome desperately needed a unifying figure, he came off like a man enjoying the perks while the building shook. Could anyone have successfully governed in that situation? Maybe not easily. But Vitellius didn't just lose, he lost in a way that became a cautionary tale. Next time on Royal Idiots, we'll explore Vespasian, the emperor who finally brought stability back to Rome. If you enjoyed this episode, follow the podcast and share it with a fellow history fan. And if you ever find yourself in charge of something important, remember Vitellius. When the empire is collapsing, maybe don't lead with the banquet schedule.